Good morning, dear viewers of Smart 24 TV. I'm Dr. Joseph Tindeba. We thank God for the new morning and weekend. We have a special discussion this morning that we would like you viewers, please, to take in, especially following up such kind of discussion with us together, our guest, Professor Augustine Iferibugu. He is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Victoria University in charge of academics, and we've often had him here, and it has always been a pleasure to have you, sir. Kindly greet the viewers.
Thank you so much for inviting me once again, and good morning, viewers, and look forward to spending time with you this morning to look at this important and essential topic.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to go on with our discourse, especially in matters of economic analysis and looking at how we can be supportive with information and knowledge, especially being imparted upon the viewers and the policymakers who may be following us, especially to be of a great advantage, looking at the capacity of our nation, the capacity of the citizens to tap into available economic potentials. And our topical discussion is entitled The Potential of Education, Natural Resources Sector to Transform Developing Economies. We seem at times, we developing economies, Uganda being part of it, and most of African countries and part of the Eastern Asia, some of the countries of Eastern Asia, Eastern Europe, right? And also looking at always having an excuse that we are either as if we are not advantageous to be part of those who have made it better. Again, we acknowledge that by the virtue of either our political, the evolution of our politics and the economics also has a bit, ranked us to be where we are as a developing economy. And there are challenges we tend to have faced, the challenges of poverty, the challenges of corruption, the challenges of, poor governance in areas of respect of human rights, democracy, and as a result, which has crippled and limited us in utilizing the available opportunities. But we don't go to the lamentation part. We come here in this discussion, dear viewers, to acknowledge that God has blessed us as a country and as Africa to be able to use the power, the dominion, and the authority, the mandate, in all that together, to be able to transform our economies, to transform our generation, and making our country or our world a better place to live in. Our dear guest, we look at education and natural resources to be very potential sectors, if at all utilized very well, can turn around, I can say, within our fortunes for a short period of time, if utilized very well. That's where we are positive in this kind of discourse. Kindly, you're welcome to give us your package in this matter.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Yeah, like you rightly said, education plays a very important role. Like you said, Africa as a whole, and most developing countries of the world, ironically, have lots of natural resources. And one would have expected that these natural resources becomes the basis and the bedrock to grow the economy and get people out of poverty into wealth. Unfortunately, for a lot of developing countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, this hasn't been the case. And again, if you look at why, again, it comes back to the role that education will play or should be playing in helping lift people out of poverty. If you look at economic development as a whole, economic development is based practically on about 5 pillars. And if you look at these 5 pillars of economic development, number 1 is health, number 2 is education, and then you have amenities, or what I would call infrastructure, then the environment, and then the 5th pillar now, it's information and transportation.
Great.
Now, if you look at all of these pillars on which economic development is built on, education plays a role in all of it. To have good health, healthy population, education plays a significant role in that.
Yes, sir.
Also, if you're going to have environment, you need a conducive environment, and you need skills, you need knowledge to manage the environment. We live now at a time in Africa and even here in Uganda, we're beginning to feel the effect of climate change. A lot of skills and a lot of knowledge is required to navigate around this problem. So education again plays a role when it comes to environment. Then think about information and transportation, which is now the fifth pillar of economic development. Information, it's powered by education. And having the right transport infrastructure, it's also powered by education. So education is the bedrock of economic development. And if any nation is going to develop, it has to practically work on educating the people. The Human Capital Index shows that countries with very high human capital index tend to do very well economically. And there is empirical evidence also that have shown that across the globe, countries that have invested a lot in education have managed to increase their economic activities, increase their gross domestic product, increase productivity. Because what education does is to help increase productivity, and when productivity increases, then obviously we're going to have an increased amount of economic growth.
We continue to get much interested, and we'll go to each part of the sector, and we go into the in-depth of it. We go into the in-depth of what kind of education, kind of education that can turn the fortunes of a country which is struggling with the development, which is progressing in achieving the targets of development. Then we also look at the instance of the natural resource utilization. We have these sectors in normal government system of formation. They have ministries. We have Ministry of Education and Sports, like in Uganda. I don't know Nigeria how you call it.
Ministry of Education.
It's also Ministry of Education. Sports is alone.
Yeah, sports is alone.
Oh, so they need to separate sports and education.
If it's possible to manage them together.
To manage them
why
together.
Not? Yeah.
I think
for me it's more efficient.
I think it's ideal to have sports alone and education alone. Or if maybe education and sports, then the state minister specifically for that.
Yeah, possibly.
Who can focus on sports. Yeah. Because the reason I'm bringing that insight, the other weekend we were discussing about sports, and we realized that sports is a potential sector which has turned the fortunes of many countries, developing countries. And we seem Uganda not to be concentrating on some of our priorities that can turn around our fortunes. Yeah. And that's why we come up with this discussion, so that we better and take time to do so, to identify where we can do best and turn around our fortunes, and we are able to also, fly. Because there are others who have already gone ahead of us, and we believe we can also do it best. Yeah. Then we also be looking at the natural resources, especially the aspect of the management, the utilization of the mineral resources, the petroleum, the gas, and also you had talked about the climate change, managing the environment. Yeah. All these are key areas that I do believe, as you've stated it, they are very important. If a country, developing economies, can utilize all this. And again, to maybe remind the viewers, in my commentary, it is believed that what the Western Europe, the colonialists, by the time they came to colonize Africa, one of the targets was natural resources. But finally they left us, and the natural resources are still with us, including the land is part of the natural resource. Yeah. So we cannot now blame anybody. Would you maybe say something in this, kind of the correlation of the two, education and natural resources, in 2 minutes. Then we go for the break. Then you will take up off from there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So again, like I've said in some previous episodes, natural resources play a very significant role if properly utilized by the government with the right policies in place and the right education. Again, we can see how education links to the proper management and exploitation of natural resources. So a highly skilled force will be more productive in converting the natural resources into economic growth. So education plays a role there. If you look at Africa, Africa is very well endowed with a lot of natural resources. Take Uganda, for example. Now there's oil, which maybe in another 2-3 years, we might have first oil and production starts, and there's going to be a lot of revenue generated there. If properly harnessed and managed, it can lead to significant economic growth. There are a lot of solid minerals that are also available here in Uganda. And again, the exploitation of these resources requires highly skilled people. So you need a higher level of education to be able to ensure that these people can help and increase productivity levels.
Yes, please.
In that particular
so there is a need to skill our labor force, and which must be done through education, and focus them to say, look, we have the potential of the natural resources which can turn our economic fortunes at an individual level and at a national level. Yeah. This is very important, and I think we'll take up from there. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. Please, we want to realize the available opportunities with us that we can utilize as a country in order to turn around our economic fortunes to make us better, not bitter.